Kung Fu Panda review, scene 1, take 2. Cool. Movie video game adaptations were notorious in the 2000s on every console. The Wii, the PS2, PS3, Xbox, the 360, look, you get it. But there is one movie video game that has sat on my shelf for possibly 14 years and has never been played. I'm talking about Kung Fu Panda for the PlayStation 2. There is a PS3 version, which is definitely the definitive one. But I have the PS2 version, so take what I say only for that one. Before heading into this game, I looked up a bit of its reviews to sort of see what the public opinion was on a game like this. Seeing these high reviews, I was genuinely surprised. Seeing mostly good reviews, I was honestly excited to go into playing this game. Kung Fu Panda is one of my favorite standalone movies of all time, and is by far my favorite trilogy in all of cinema. I think the story of Po, the dragon warrior, is an emotional coming of age to learn there is no secret ingredient. I think it's really a beautiful narrative, but that's for another video. Seeing the reviews alleviated my worries about the game. There is a certain expectation of quality for movie video game adaptations back in this period of time. I mean, so were the movies. Alright, but enough is enough. I'm going to be playing Kung Fu Panda on the PlayStation 2 on original hardware, so my experience is going to be as authentic as it can be. Let's begin.
Enough talk. Let's fight!
Find your courage. Find your skill. Never lose your appetite.
I'll be showing a lot of the gameplay from clips of my Twitch stream of me playing this. If you want to check out some of my future streams, I'm actually going to be moving on to YouTube to stream from now on. I'll try to stream more often than every 34 years, I swear. But be sure to hit that notification bell after you subscribe. Anyways, I start the game and there's already music glitches on the opening menu. I put aside my fears with the music glitches and I start my new journey. I chose the student difficulty as I'm not really a warrior. This is where I should mention that none of the cast besides James Hong as Ping returned for the video game. Not surprising. It's understandable. I don't expect Angelina Jolie to reprise her role as Tigress in the hit game on PlayStation 2, Kung Fu Panda. But I think the voice actors that took over a lot of the main roles do an outstanding job. Jack Black brings a certain life to Po in the movie. I was fearful that it wouldn't be as easy to fill those shoes. Mick Wingate voices Po, and honestly, upon first hearing the voice, I really thought they had Jack Black voice some lines. Mick aces Po's voice, down to every inflection. But something does feel missing from Po's voice. But it seemed not to be the actual impression itself. Upon my playthrough of the game, it hit me. Mick Wingate absolutely aces the impression of Po's voice, but Mick does struggle to bring some of the energy Jack Black had brought to Po. Let's compare some of Jack Black's lines compared to Mick's. Mick reprises his role in future games as Po and also in TV series, but my criticisms are going to solely be based on his performance in this game. It was his first performance as Po, but I think he does a stellar job anyways.
Now, I'm gonna use this. Haha! You want it? Come get it. Oh! Finally!
The legend of the Dragon Warrior is ancient and epic. It is shrouded in mind-bending eternal mysteries and legendary kung fu teachings from the awesome masters of the ages. It's also the only one where really good noodle soup plays a critical role.
Considering Jack Black is an absolutely amazing actor and a voice actor, I give props to Mick for doing such a solid job in reference to the original material. The other voices definitely aren't as energetic as the originals, but I think the biggest standout that we don't have the original cast is Mantis, voiced by Brian T. Delaney in the game.
Yeah! Me! Okay, leave it to the little guy.
Originally voiced by Seth Rogen, I'm not the biggest fan of his voice work, but he does have a distinct enough voice that definitely requires a lot of effort for it to sound similar. I think the game avoids including Mantis almost at all for this reason. In fact, we barely see any of the Furious 5. I'll get back to that later. So we start the game with a tutorial sequence that's a dream sequence. There are references to the movie's dream sequence, but fundamentally it's different to the original story. Actually, pretty much none of the game properly matches up with the story. Po becomes the Dragon Warrior the same way, but how he achieves that is different. He fights Tai Lung, but how it builds up to it and the fight itself is different. It's fine, but I don't even know how I can compare this to the original. Let me preface here though, the music is stunning. The environments feel so alive and bring so much energy to them. Our particular favourite theme was the hill fight theme. I'll play a little bit for you now. The music really is astonishing. Listening to the OST in-game is honestly such a great experience. It feels like the perfect balance of being immersed in the environments and driving your energy while playing. But that's where a lot of my major praises finish. I won't have this be entirely negative, but I really struggle to play this at moments. Audio glitches, non-skippable cutscenes, and some really awkward controls. There were definitely highlights, and I'll get to them. One thing the game also offers is the ability to upgrade stats of Po throughout your playthrough, like health regen, and his various attack stats. This was really cool as it felt like it legitimately impacted the game. But I don't think it's too much of an issue. I upgraded my health to max, and I felt like I could never be killed. And then I upgraded my fast attack to max, and then I pretty much beat every non-boss character in one little attack sequence. This did pretty much take away the strategy and a lot of the difficulty to the game, and it made those situations more like a beat 'em up than anything else. There are nice exceptions to this with various character types they expand on. There were ones that were slower, they took hits and they would typically deal one back, and there were ones that were so fast you couldn't just run up to them and hit them normally, and there were ones of course who were the bosses, you couldn't just typically fight head on. This variety felt good when they first introduced it, but I wish these were further expanded. While you upgrade Po and get better throughout the narrative, maybe the villain's stats slowly increased in certain areas. The bulky ones took more hits, the fast ones were even faster, so on and so forth. I would have loved if they expanded on more types of villains as well that weren't just meaningless and weren't useless. Po's gameplay, besides the combat, is lacking. The combat, even if repetitive, is fun and energetic, but that's only half of the game. The game is an action-adventure, and it mostly utilizes its adventure format with half-thought-out concepts in each area. The biggest problem is that there is never really a good chance to build on top of the platforming, as the new level throws in a half-baked new mechanic or uses one we won't ever use again. I think the primary controls you do improve at, but I'd rather have these concepts or skills be built upon in a satisfying way. I'm also a 19-year-old with no direction in life, so let's not treat my words as gospel. This is just how I felt playing the game. There are a few moments where you do get to play as other characters, and honestly, they were the moments I had the most fun in regards to the platforming. There was the first boss with Tigress, playing as Master Shifu when collecting the Furious 5, playing as Monkey. It was all fast and energetic, and they had unique movements and controls. It's so cool. At least the story doesn't include more opportunities to play these characters, and that is very disappointing. I've been alluding to the levels and stages not being that good, and I'll do a short description of each one. Level 1, Po's Dream. It's a fun level, and is a good way to introduce the basic concepts of the villains, the platforming, and the combat. I think it could have expanded upon it a little bit more, or it could have been a little bit more challenging, but it is an introduction. Level 2, Tournament of the Dragon. It's a great way to expand on the introduced controls. The firework cannon was absolutely miserable to use. Bad, sloppy controls. But the boss fight when you use Tigress feels epic in the boss fight though. Level 3. Level 0. Dialogue literally glitched in the opening cutscenes. I find it annoying how some of the levels are laid out, but they did help improve my use of the controls, so I guess it did its job. It's weird that there were challenges to beat that high score, because at that point in the story, Po wasn't even trying to be a fraction of their skill, so I find it weird that we're already trying to best them. Level 4. Protect the Palace. is the first huge deviation of the movie. It's a pretty lame way to set it up. It didn't drag out too long, but it did feel like it just padded out some of the content and really wasted a bit of my time. Level 5, Lake of Tears. Oh my god. This is where I really noticed how bad some of the platforming really is. The movement is really shown how bad it is at this level. Every beat of the story sucked. It was slow and it just wasn't fun. The final sequence with Crane wasn't even good. It was just mid all around. This is the first big level after the tutorial phase, and they completely botch it with a gimmick of platforming. And the worst part is at the very beginning of the level, I accidentally just kept messing up jumps, a mixture of me still learning and also the camera being bad. Sure, reset the level, but you didn't just start the level, you had to watch the unskippable cutscene again. It was painful. Level 6, Wudang Temple. It's alright, it was kind of mid really, it had no real substance, it just beat the spawner and they're gone. And the boss fight was also pretty lame, it was just throwing stuff, which disappointed me. Level 7, Treacherous Waters. It's the same as level 5, and the difference between level 5 and level 7 is that you were at least learning. In level 5, you were at least learning the mechanics, and it was at least a good way to start getting quicker and faster with your movement. At this point, it's just cementing to you that you never want to jump on lily pads again. Level 8, Wudang Rescue. This honestly was really fun. It didn't feel that good for the narrative, and I've already begun to give up on that following the movie. But Shifu has the sickest controls, and he feels definitely the best when playing, at least at this point. Level 9, Howling Moon. This is the worst besides the lily pad levels. It's just a terrible experience, honestly. The boss fight was extremely mid. Level 10, Secret of the Sands. This completely derails the story, as Tai Lung had never actually met Po, and now it makes it all stupid. Also, I hate the rolling for the puzzle. It's so slow and it feels so bad to control. The fighting in the pit after was also pretty lame. It was at least fun to fight a new kind of character type, but besides that, I hated how you had to break each door and you had to wait until you beat each round of opponents just to get like the bomb to break the door. It kind of just felt tacky. Level 11, The Palace. This is the exact same as level 4 initially. It builds up to a big fight with Tai Lung though. And the audio is messed up the whole time. It's miserable to play. I cannot express how bad it is.
For 20 years I rotted in jail because of your betrayal. Now, give me what I deserve.
You are not the Dragon Warrior. It is not for you.
Enough! I will find it myself. Destroy him.
It seemed so fun and it felt so epic, and then it just got bad. Level 12, The Warrior's Destiny. It was right, it was fun when I was in control of Monkey, and then that instantly ends, it feels like. I was disappointed. The added boss fights were also really easy. This also could have possibly been because I had max upgrades. Level 13, The Final Battle. The fight was also mid. It didn't feel like it utilized what I had learned from the other fights. It had audio issues, so many audio issues. It was a unique way to use all of the various control techniques within the final battle. I didn't enjoy how they handled the Master Shifu Tai Lung fight. The way it used like each part of the game design felt sloppy and difficult. Half of this is painfully long loading screens, and the audio is painful. So that's my review on every level. The biggest issue is the sign of dated game design. Quick time events. God, I just hate them. It's bad design. The game really just lacks an overall quality, I feel. I know I shouldn't expect a blockbuster game, but I'm still disappointed with what I played. No ability to skip cutscenes, especially if it's playing a second time and then dying. The game also had a talented voice cast that really hit the ball on its head overall. The music was really fun and was dynamic. The ending of the game probably should have been more enjoyable if it weren't for the audio issues to be present, making my experience borderline unplayable sometimes. Kung Fu Panda on the PS2 was a game that had many strengths, but was overshadowed by its weaknesses. It's a game that had a very cool direction, had amazing music, had amazing locations, but lacked in areas of its gameplay as well as just the overall quality of the game itself. It had a lot of audio glitches. I may have just gotten unlucky, but I did have those experiences, and that is purely based on just my first playthrough. I'm struggling to even get through a second, and I don't think I'll finish one. Honestly, if you have the game, I don't recommend you play it. If you're a masochist, maybe. Overall, every game deserves a rating, and I'd rate this game a 3.5 out of 10. It has some strengths, but yeah, it is completely overshadowed by its weaknesses. And also, to commemorate my failed attempt to get into the music industry, I'm going to provide you a song which is purely my review of this game. Enjoy.
A PS2 disc galore. See that game intro is a worth waiting for. Luckily, I'm not playing the game anymore, because at best, it's mediocre. What was all this hype for? Wasn't to go on an adventure to explore problems I cannot ignore. Before you go, I implore, senor, don't expect more. Shake it down to your core. Kung Fu Panda on the PS2 got me feeling blue. Got a bad review, a curse to me and you. Drink that Mountain Dew, it's my puke I threw. Redemption you pursued, sadly withdrew. The game, you had it all there, and singularly my questionnaire. The problems you're very aware, had no time to spare. Just gotta stop and stare at the mistakes you made. A lack of care displayed. Game should have been delayed. Send me to a crusade. Emotions going to cascade. Cascade. I won't accept that behavior. You ain't ever gonna be a savior. You're just a dragon failure.